welcome back. This is Dr. Vella, and I am going to offer this screencast as a lesson in how to approach your Common Application personal statement. Okay? I know many of you are working on these right now. Many of you took the summer personal statement workshop, and it's going to be part of this class that I will ask you to write a personal statement, and I will offer my feedback on it for you. You do not need to write a new personal statement for my class. If you have one already that you wrote for the summer or at any time, you're more than welcome to submit it if that's the one you'd like me to look at. Okay? All right. So let's talk about a couple basic things with this personal statement. We know some of the general parameters, right? It's 650 words. We know that for the early deadline is November 1, and the regular deadline is January 1. Okay, that's where most schools fit in. I think it's always advisable, gentlemen, to work on one Common App personal statement and make that your best one and send that out to everybody. I wouldn't be working on 3 or 4 personal statements for the Common App. I think that's spreading yourself too thin. Okay? One thing I want to talk about here is setting some general parameters for how to approach this. Okay? So, a couple general guidelines that I've found helpful over the years for students. One of which is to be candid. That means be honest about yourself. Okay? Don't try to be someone you're not. This is really important because a lot of people get stuck thinking that they're trying to predict what the admissions committee wants. That is impossible. That's like trying to predict what an employer is looking for. The best you can do, gentlemen, is be you and hope that's what they're looking for, right? You want to just be who you are and present the best version of yourself, and use that as an opportunity to just showcase yourself. Okay? Oops. All right. So we want to be candid, and that means we want to be honest about ourselves. All right. Another thing that I think is really important in these kinds of essays is to show humility. Whoops. To show humility. Okay? Now, what this means is don't act like you've already know everything. Don't act like you've figured out life. And a lot of students do this, believe it or not. You might be surprised. They kind of present themselves as like, oh, I've got it all figured out. I know what's going on in life now. Here I am, 17, 18 years old, and there's nothing new for me to learn. You know what? Show a little humility. Show a little bit of self-awareness. You have grown. That's true. But it's also true that you are still growing. Okay? So, I always caution students against writing an essay where they really present themselves as a finished product, right? You are not a finished product. You are a person in progress, okay? So, let me just put that down here as a nice way to say that. You are not a finished product. So don't try to present yourself as a finished product. Honestly, guys, think about it. If they are reading this and you try to present yourself as a finished product, why do you need to go to college? Sounds like you got it all figured out, right? They want to see people who are coming to college to figure themselves out, to find out what it is they're really interested in, what kind of person they really are, all that kind of good stuff, what kind of person they're going to grow into be. If you've already done all those things, what are you going to college for? Okay? So, avoid that. Avoid showing yourself as this finished product. All right? So, next thing here. This will be the last of these pieces of general advice, which is to be vulnerable. Okay? To allow yourself to be vulnerable. It is okay to reveal interior moments of self-doubt, insecurity, and even uncertainty. We all feel those things, right? Adults feel those things, young people feel those things, we all feel those things. The lie is to try to pretend that you don't feel those things, that you are invulnerable. You don't want to present as that kind of a figure, all right? We are vulnerable, you are human, and it's okay to present that way, all right? Think about it this way, but there is a continuum here. I'm going to get a little Aristotelian on you guys right now. So let's say Aristotle says virtue is a mean between two extremes, right? So one extreme might be the person who thinks that they are invulnerable, right? The person who is arrogant. But on the other extreme is the person who is so deeply insecure and so meek and weak that they can't really do anything in their lives, right? So what's the healthy balance between being this arrogant, invulnerable, pretend superhero on the one hand versus being this insecure, meek little mouse on the other? Well, in between is the person who shows appropriate confidence. Right? The person who shows the right amount of confidence and the right amount of self-doubt. All right? That's what you're kind of aiming for. This is the mean. This is the target. Not just the target for a Common App essay, guys, but this is the target for life, right? It just so happens that it'll help you to state that on your Common App essay as well. Okay. Last major point I want to make is about a way that you can structure this essay. So first of all, you want to think about this essay. It really is a thesis-based essay. We don't normally think of personal statements as being thesis-based, but they really are. And here's the key thing. The thesis is a claim about you and your character. That's what the thesis in a personal statement is. It's a claim about who you are and what your character is like. Okay? And you support that thesis with evidence. You support that thesis with evidence from your own experience, your thoughts, all that stuff. Okay? All right. So, here is one suggestion. I think you guys at Loyola have such a great advantage here when doing a personal statement like this, because since the thesis is a claim about you and your character, that means that you are given an opportunity to talk about the grad at grad, the virtues that you exhibit as embodying the grad at grad. Okay? Of all the grad at grad virtues that you can base your essay on, whether it's intellectually distinguished, whether it is loving and religious and committed to justice, right? All the ones we know so well. The one that I have found to be the most helpful for personal statements is open to growth. You can really structure an essay around this idea of you being open to growth. That when you have been confronted by new situations, new people, new challenges, that instead of shirking from those challenges, you have been open to facing those challenges and open to learning from them. Okay? So I think open to growth is a great place to start, but if you are someone who maybe is more committed to social justice issues, then maybe commitment to justice is your virtue to focus on. Maybe you're thinking about religious or loving as your virtues. And you certainly don't have to restrict it to only one virtue. It is possible to explain more than one virtue as it's exhibited by your person. Although I would have to say that you're probably not going to be able to talk about more than two virtues. I would say in a Common App essay like this, you're going to think about two virtues max. All right? Okay, so last 2 points I want to make here. First of all, when you're giving the evidence that supports your thesis, it's really important that you follow the theater dictum of show, don't tell. Okay? Show them who you are through examples, through your real life live experience. Don't tell them, hey, I've got fortitude, I've got perseverance, I've got toughness. You know, that only helps so much. You don't want to just tell us those things. You want to show us. Show us the examples when you demonstrated perseverance, when you demonstrated toughness, when you demonstrated dedication or sacrifice or any of those things. Show, don't tell. Okay? And the final thing I'll say here, guys, is let the reader see through your eyes. Okay? Each of us brings a unique perspective on the world. Believe it or not, every one of us, when we see things in the world around us, we see them differently. We see them through our own faculties of perception. And each of us is sensitive to different things about perception. Some of us are more sensitive to sounds, to sights, to certain kinds of sights, certain kinds of tactile sensations, taste. All of us are sensitive to certain things. We also have emotional sensitivities that make us unique. Some of us can see the same things on the street, but not all of us will identify the same things as being important. Okay? So we all have our own, we are all moved by different things emotionally. And finally, there is in terms of your intellect, your intellectual differences, right? So reveal your uniqueness in how you see. All of us see in our own unique and special ways. And it's really important that you allow people to see the way you see things, right? When you're walking down the street or driving down Pico, what kinds of things catch your eye? Are you more intrigued by the merchants? Are you more intrigued by the murals? Are you more intrigued by the homeless? Are you more emotionally moved by any of those different things, right? All of us walking down the same exact street on Pico are going to have certain things stick with us. And that is because we all have a unique perceptual, emotional, and intellectual apparatus. All right? So, let me close out here. I've given you a couple general guidelines about how to approach this. And I've given you a general model for how to think about this essay as a thesis-based essay. Okay? I'm going to bring this to a close here, this screencast to a close, and then I'm going to follow it up with a short screencast on essay structure. All right? Thank you for your attention, and I'll continue on in another screencast. If I can get to QuickTime.